To find the circumcenter graphically, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to plot the 3 points that create the triangle. So the first ordered pair here is at 0, 10. So the first 0 tells me to stay at the origin, and then the 10 is the y value, so go up 10 to plot that point. The next point will be at 10, 0, so that's right 10 on the x-axis, and then up none. The last point is 14, 10. So 14 is the x value. I'm going to go right 14 and then up 10. So the next thing I need to do is just to connect these to form a triangle. So I'm going to use that line tool that's up in the menu bar. I don't have it showing on my screen where I'm recording, but I'm just going to create a line to connect these points to create a triangle. So that one, let's make it a little bit darker, a little bit thicker so that we can see where it is. All right, so I'm just going to continue connecting these points with the line tool. And each one I'm just trying to make it a little bit easier to see by changing the color and the thickness. Right, and then the last one, I'll connect those points to finish out the triangle here. All right, so once I have the triangle graphed, I'm trying to find the circumcenter, and so the definition of that is the point where the perpendicular bisector of each side meets. So there's two big things in that term, perpendicular and then bisector. So the first thing I'm going to use is bisector, which means that it should be at the midpoint. So it's perpendicular at the midpoint. So the first thing I need to do is to find the midpoint of a side. So if I choose a side, like maybe I'm going to choose this side right here, the horizontal side, first I want to find the length in order to find the midpoint. So I can use the numbers to help me figure out what the length is, or I can count the boxes. But the length of this horizontal side is 14. So half of that is 7. So the midpoint is going to be here at 7. So the bisector part means that it's going to be at the midpoint. So we find the midpoint of the horizontal segment. It was easy. We were just able to count the boxes. The second part of that is that it needs to be perpendicular. So perpendicular has opposite reciprocal slopes. So here we're working with the horizontal line. So to be perpendicular to a horizontal line, that's a little bit easier. We just need to be vertical. So I want to be vertical and through that point. So the vertical part is the easier part here, and then I just want to line it up with that point. So the perpendicular bisector goes through the midpoint and is perpendicular to the side. Now I'm going to work on another side. So maybe I choose this diagonal from the y-axis to the x-axis. Maybe I choose it next. So the first thing I need to do is find the midpoint. So the midpoint is going to be the middle of the x values and then the middle of the y value. So if I think about the middle of the x values, one is at 0, one is at 10, so the middle of that will be at 5. For the y values, one is at 0, one is at 10, so the middle will be 5. So the midpoint of this segment is going to be at 5, 5. So I line that up and I find my midpoint and I put that dot there. The next thing is I need to be perpendicular to this segment. So I can choose any 2 points that are on this segment, and it doesn't just have to be these 3 that are here. I can use those though. So if I look, I'm going down from the midpoint. I have to go down 5 and then right 5. So that would be -5 over 5 for that slope. That's going to have a slope of -1. So the opposite reciprocal of -1 is going to be +1 over 1. So with that, I'm going to put one endpoint at that dot, and then I'm going to go up 1 over 1, and that tells me the structure of my line that I need to create. So now I can just drag these endpoints, and I want to make sure that it stays on that green line, but I want to drag it to where it will be all the way across this graph. So I drag that one, and then I take this other one, just keep it lined up with that green segment, or with that green dot there, and there is my next perpendicular bisector. So we have one more to do. So for the midpoint, it's going to have to be the middle of 10 and 14. So that's going to be at 12. And then of 0 and 10. So between 0 and 10 is 5. So this midpoint is going to be at 12, 5. So now that I have my last midpoint, I want to be perpendicular to this segment. So I can use any 2 points. So if I start at this bottom point and I want to end up at the midpoint, that one goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 2. So the slope of this segment here is positive 5 over 2. So the opposite reciprocal is going to be negative 2/5. So negative 2/5. I put one endpoint at the dot. And then if I go negative 2 over 5, it's going to be over to the side somewhere. And I can't do that. So instead of going down 2, right 5, I'm going to go up 2 and left 5. So let me grab the other endpoint of this segment, and I'm going to go up 2, left 5. All right, so now we can see kind of the path that this is taken. So I just want to draw my line so that it's all the way across the graph. And notice that all 3 of these perpendicular bisectors meet at a single point. That point is called the circumcenter. So I'm going to take this yellow dot and put it over the intersection of those points, and then I will name that ordered pair. So the x value of the circumcenter is at 7, and the y value of that circumcenter is also at 7. So the circumcenter of this particular triangle was at 7, 7. It's the point where these 3 perpendicular bisectors meet.